I was saving a patient's life when I cut through her bra with a pair of trauma shears. Later, my fiancée, Monica, uploaded a video of me performing chest compressions. "I know you were saving her," she wrote, "but what about her privacy? Your hands were all over her as your fiancé. That makes me really uncomfortable." The post went viral. The hospital, desperate to avoid a PR nightmare, chose the easiest solution. I was demoted. My entire annual bonus was taken. A formal reprimand went in my file. After years of dedicating myself to saving lives, I was suddenly branded a pervert. I gave up. I refused to save another person. And that's when the panic started. "George, this is serious," Monica said, crossing her arms. "We're getting married soon. Even as a doctor, you need to respect our relationship." I just stared at her, at the woman I was supposed to spend my life with. "Are you done?" I asked calmly. Monica froze. "What kind of attitude is that? You still don't think you did anything wrong?" "Whatever you say." The words slipped out before I could stop them, and I felt something essential between us crack. Her face turned crimson as if I'd struck her. "Fine, whatever you say, George, we're done. The wedding is off." She grabbed her phone, spun around, and stormed out. Dr. Matthews, the department head, scowled, tapping his pen on the desk. "Do you see what you've done? Look at her." He slid a paper toward me. "To manage the fallout, you will write a formal apology. You'll read it aloud at the next hospital-wide assembly and admit your inappropriate behavior." I said nothing. His glare sharpened. "That's an order, George. Your only chance to make this right." The next day, a notice of my disciplinary action appeared on the hospital network and bulletin boards. The wording was brutal. Improper medical procedure. Failure to show adequate patient care. Dr. George Cole is hereby demoted with forfeited of his full annual bonus. Let this serve as a warning to all staff. Every word felt like public humiliation. Kevin in turn texted discreetly, "George, we know you were just trying to help, but lay low. Dr. Matthews is on a rampage." I switched off my phone. I wasn't surprised. Dr. Matthews' nephew, Ryan, had just returned from a prestigious fellowship abroad and joined the hospital last week. The old man had been itching to promote him, and Monica's drama gave him the perfect excuse. I returned to my desk, silent and methodical. I organized, printed, and compiled every case file, surgical record, and post-op plan for my critical patients. Then I wiped my personal drive, erasing years of research and draft papers. A week later, the hospital assembly began. Dr. Matthews' voice boomed. "In light of Dr. Cole's unprofessional conduct, the board has revoked his status as an attending physician." The auditorium fell silent. Please join me in welcoming the newest member of our cardiothoracic team. A brilliant mind from his fellowship abroad, Dr. Ryan Matthews. A young man in a crisp lab coat stood and gave the crowd a condescending nod. Dr. Matthews beamed. Effective immediately, Dr. Ryan Matthews assumes all of Dr. Cole's previous duties. I sat at the back, my expression unreadable. Ryan swaggered to my desk and knocked his knuckles on the wood like he owned the place. "Time to clear your things out," he said, chin tilted, toward an expression all arrogance and smirk. "You'll be relocated to the corner where the residents sit." He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Also, that computer is staying. I need to audit it. Make sure he didn't take any confidential department files." I looked at him, said nothing, and started packing the handful of personal items I kept there. It wasn't enough. He added, "One more thing. Let's try to keep a higher level of professionalism in this department. Less of that back-alley medic vibe, okay?" I stopped, met his gaze, and asked evenly, "Then do explain what are the diagnostic criteria, and how do you differentiate for Takatobo cardiomyopathy?" Ryan's confident grin faltered. He stammered, "Well, that depends on the EKG and echocardiogram. It's a type of—" I turned away. He realized he'd been shown up, scoffed, and stalked off. I remember being recruited 3 years earlier, the former director shaking my hand, promising autonomy and more lives to save if I came from St. Jude's ICU. It all felt like a bad joke. Now, as a resident, my load was lighter, and I was kept out of emergency operations. I followed the resident checklist to the letter. Rounds, charts, orders. I handed off patients and left promptly when my shift ended. When a crash victim arrived yesterday, a nurse instinctively called for me. I glanced at the monitor and told her calmly, "Find Dr. Ryan. He's the attending on call, but he's in his office." She panicked. "He said he's compiling some academic data." I walked out without another word. I no longer stayed an extra minute for anyone in crisis. That evening, instead of burying myself in journals, I went to a fencing club. I packed on the heavy gear, pulled down the mask, gripped the AP, and funneled every ounce of frustration into measured attacks and parries. The duel was clean, precise, and merciless in its focus. The next morning, Ryan posted a file to the department chat titled, "A Trial Initiative for the Optimization of Departmental Charting Standards in Alignment with Advanced International Medical Documentation Systems." It was a bloated PDF full of bureaucratic templates, jargon, and rules demanding full medical terms, extra sections for citations, and needless complexity. The chat went quiet, then erupted in private messages. Is he serious? He wants a thesis for every chart. We are treating patients, not writing for a European journal. He insisted a nurse say cardiac pulsation frequency instead of heart rate. This is ridiculous. By the time we finish one of these, the ER patient will be dead. All theory, no hands-on work. I watched the thread without adding anything. An older colleague DM'd me, confused about some of the new standard terminologies, so I quietly explained them, then shut my phone off. My total disengagement paired with Ryan's micromanagement created a sharp contrast. I used to be the steady center, the person people relied on when chaos hit. Now critical cases dissolved into confusion. Ryan barked orders from the edges, hiding behind his standardized language, never rolling up his sleeves. The staff's resentment grew, and I could feel them waiting, hoping for the one crisis that would expose the difference between talk and action. I filed a request for my entire owed annual leave, 30 days. When Dr. Matthews saw the form, his face darkened. "What is the meaning of this?" He snapped, crumpling the paper and tossing it back. "We are short-staffed. Are you taking this much time off to spite me?" He lowered his voice, threat laced into every syllable. "Do not think you are untouchable because you are a resident now. You have a long career ahead. Cross me, and I have ways to make sure you never practice in this state again. You think the demotion hurt? I can get you fired." I stayed silent, reaching into my pocket and pulling out the report from my recent physical, placing it on Dr. Matthews' desk. "Dr. Matthews, I've been diagnosed with cardiac arrhythmias. My doctor recommends complete rest," I said calmly, almost serenely. "Long-term high-stress work is harmful to the heart. As a senior physician, you understand that better than anyone." He grabbed the report, his face shifting from red to pale as he scanned it. He found nothing to argue with. He grunted, snatching a pen and angrily scrawling his signature on my leave request. As I turned to leave, Monica appeared, clinging to Ryan's arm. "Well, well, if it isn't Dr. Cole," she said, dripping with sarcasm. "Couldn't handle a setback, so you're running away?" Ryan puffed out his chest. "Some people just lack mental fortitude. Where I trained, someone like him would have washed out on day one." "Don't think the department can't function without you," Monica added, eyes flashing. "Ryan is 10 times the doctor you'll ever be. A true professional." I didn't even glance at them and walked out. At the end of the hall, Sarah, the head nurse, caught up with me. "George," she said, pressing an apple into my hand. "Remember the woman you saved? The one from the video?" I nodded. "She's the daughter of the CEO of Orion Corporation. He sent someone to thank you personally, but Dr. Matthews intercepted them. He claimed the department's success was entirely thanks to Dr. Ryan." She shook her head. "You are too honest, George. You never fight for yourself." I nodded, thinking, you have no idea what kind of trouble you've invited. I settled into my train seat heading home. Just as the train pulled out, my phone rang. It was Kevin, panicked. "George, it's bad. Something terrible has happened. The CEO of Orion, he had a massive heart attack. He's in our ICU." My stomach dropped. "Ryan's the attending. He saw the EKG, knows it's a major amine, but the CEO has a rare drug allergy, and Ryan's too scared to use the standard thrombolytics. He's just staring at his tablet, mumbling about evidence-based medicine, refusing to make a decision. He's trying to get the family to sign transfer papers instead." Kevin's voice cracked. "George, it's a STEMI. Every minute counts. How can he even think of transferring him?" Before I could respond, Dr. Matthews called. I hung up Kevin and answered, "George, get back here now. If anything happens to the CEO, you'll regret it forever." I held the phone away from my ear and then replied calmly, "Dr. Matthews, I am on approved medical leave. I am only a resident. I lack the authority to manage a patient of this magnitude." "Isn't your foreign-trained Dr. Ryan the expert for these complex cases?" I hung up. Another text from Kevin arrived, panic-stricken. "George, the CEO's condition worsened in the ambulance." His heart stopped for a minute. "The family is furious. They called the hospital president and are threatening lawsuits. The whole hospital is in lockdown. The president VPs, they're all in the ICU." Another message. Dr. Matthews is spreading rumors that you hid the CEO's allergy records to sabotage Ryan. He's telling everyone he knew and kept it secret. I stared at my phone and let out a cold laugh. The man was a master at shifting blame, and it got worse. Another ICU patient, fresh from bypass surgery, went into ventricular fibrillation. Kevin's running commentary continued. Ryan is fumbling with a defibrillator. He shocked the patient repeatedly with no response. He even set the wrong energy levels when a nurse tried to correct him. He yelled at her. Sarah says they need ECMO immediately. It's the last hope. ECMO, extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. The multi-million-dollar lifeline our department imported from Germany. Ryan is trying to start it, but it keeps failing. Alarms are blaring, Sarah shouted. The startup and calibration settings are specific. Only Dr. Cole knows them. Don't touch it. Ryan shoved her aside. I've used these machines all over Europe. The principles are the same. What does a nurse know? The previous parameters are wrong. They don't match the latest international standards. Ryan attempted a full system reboot and tried to rewrite the machine's operating code manually. George, oh God, look. The ECMO smoking. A shrill alarm pierced through the ICU. The main console flickered violently, then went black. Acrid smoke filled the air. The smell of burnt circuits spreading fast. The hospital's most advanced life support unit, worth millions, was fried beyond repair. 2 patients hung between life and death. One's critical treatment window had already slipped away. The other's vital signs were collapsing, his monitor seconds from a flatline. The ICU erupted in chaos. The cries of families and the shriek of machines blended into a dreadful symphony that seemed to tear through the walls. The hospital president turned pale, sweat dripping down his temples. With trembling fingers, he dialed the ECMO manufacturer's emergency line in Germany. On the other end, a German technician spoke in halting English. I am sorry, sir, but our nearest specialist is in Europe. It will take at least 48 hours to reach you. A suffocating silence fell over the room. Just before hanging up, the engineer hesitated. There might be another option. Contact Professor Langdon's team, the ones who assisted with your machine's original calibration. I recall his protege, a young doctor named Cole. I believe he is with your hospital. The president froze mid-motion. Slowly he turned toward Dr. Matthews. The color drained from Matthews' face. He knew exactly who they meant. Dr. Langdon Starr, people once hailed as the future of cardiopulmonary medicine. The same doctor they had pushed out, humiliated and ruined me. And I was hundreds of miles away, sitting quietly on a train, finally at peace. The tension in the hospital president's office was thick enough to cut with a scalpel. Later, people said he had shattered his favorite antique tea set against the wall. Dr. Matthews and his nephew Ryan stood before him, silent and pale like students caught. So, the president roared, which one of you did this? Ryan was a once-in-a-lifetime prodigy. And who is it that forced out the only man keeping this hospital afloat to make room for him? Well done, you've managed to burn the place to the ground. Now tell me, who's going to clean up your mess? I didn't need to be there to hear the president's fury. I could almost feel it vibrating through the phone. Moments later, my phone rang again, his private number. This time, Dr. Cole, came his weary voice, stripped of its usual formality. It's Bill Adams. I'm sure you've heard about the crisis. He hesitated, sounding more desperate than authoritative. George, you grew with this hospital. You built your career here. Now we're facing city health investigators and public backlash. I'm asking you to think beyond the personal, to think of the bigger picture. Please come back and fix this. As a friend, I'm begging you. I leaned back in my seat, eyes following the scenery outside the window. President Adams, everything I've achieved is recorded in every operation I performed and every patient I saved. The hospital gave me a stage and I gave it results. Where even? I paused. Besides, I'm currently on medical leave, and more importantly, I'm still officially a resident. By hospital policy, I don't have the authority to take charge of a critical incident like this. My tone was calm, almost detached. Silence stretched through the line, until another voice broke through, trembling and wet with tears. It was Monica. George, please, I was wrong, she cried. I shouldn't have posted that video. I shouldn't have let my jealousy ruin everything. The condo's ready, just like you wanted. Don't you remember what you promised me? You said you'd give me a home. Her sobs grew louder. Think about us. Think about my parents. This isn't just about the hospital. It's my reputation, too. You can't just abandon me like this. She was hysterical, making herself sound like the victim. but all I felt was disgust. It had always been the same. Whenever she needed something, she cried, manipulated, and begged me to surrender my pride, all in the name of love and duty. George, if you really love me, you'll do this for me. Enough, President Adams, I interrupted coldly, cutting through her wails. The president collected the phone again, voice sharp with desperation. Dr. Cole, tell me what you want. Anything. Name your price. Just come back. He had finally dropped all pretense of appealing to my loyalty. Reinstate your attending status. No, Associate Director, we'll double your bonus. We'll issue a public apology. I let out a quiet laugh. My terms are simple. First, I said, at a hospital-wide assembly you will publicly clear my name and retract all prior disciplinary actions. Dr. Matthews and Monica will apologize to me personally in front of the entire staff. Second, the ECMO repair costs and all additional expenses resulting from the delayed treatment of both patients will be paid in full by Dr. Matthews and Ryan. Third, I will have sole authority over the Orion CEO's case. No one will interfere with my treatment plan. No one. And fourth, I will have first choice in selecting the members of my surgical team. A long, heavy silence stretched on the other end. In the background, ICU monitors wailed frantically. The president tried to negotiate. Dr. Cole, about the apology. Could we perhaps handle it privately? Non-negotiable, I said, cutting him off. They chose to humiliate me in public. My reputation will be restored publicly as well. Fine. The words seemed to tear from his throat. I agreed to everything. I hung up, opened the train app, and booked the next ride back. When I returned to the hospital, I bypassed my office entirely and walked straight into the ICU. The unit, which had been chaos just hours before, fell silent at my entrance. All eyes were on me. The CEO's condition was worse than I feared. Blood pressure plummeting, oxygen saturation dangerously low. I didn't hesitate. Commands came sharp and measured. Sarah, start a norepinephrine drip. Keep his MAP above 65. Kevin, prep for intubation. He could go into respiratory failure any second. Get me the latest blood gas analysis now. My authority was undeniable. Nurses and doctors who had been floundering now moved with purpose, focused and precise. Those who had mocked me now followed my lead. George, you're back. Sarah's voice was thick with relief. Ryan, seeing me, went pale and then green, pressing himself against a wall. What are you doing here? This is under control. I was just arranging. I ignored him. I approached the dead ECMO machine. The burnt motherboard, scorched circuits, and fresh scratches on the casing told the story of his incompetence. Idiot, I muttered. I removed my jacket and handed it to a nurse. Get the backup power supply and coolant. My voice echoed across the room, calm but commanding. Sarah snapped to attention. Quick, Lou the power supply. Jean the coolant. No one listened to Ryan anymore. What are you doing? I'm the attending. You can't ignore me, he yelled, grabbing a nurse's arm. The president who had just arrived shoved him aside. Shut your mouth. Haven't you done enough? The president roared. Ryan turned to his uncle, voice cracking. Uncle! Dr. Matthews avoided his eyes, stepping back silently. The president looked at me, trust clear in his voice. Dr. Cole, it's all in your hands. I opened my toolkit and set to work. Every movement precise and deliberate. I replaced burnt circuits, recalibrated sensors, and reassembled the machine. Only the rhythmic beeps of monitors and soft clicks of my tools broke the silence. All eyes followed my hands. 30 minutes later, I closed the casing and reconnected power. I pressed the restart button. A single clear chime cut through the ICU. The ECMO screen flickered to life. Diagnostics all green. The machine was back online. A wave of restrained cheers rolled through the room. Ryan collapsed to the floor, color drained, defeated. I finally addressed him, calm and steady. There's a world of difference between textbook knowledge and a real-world practice. The space between them is measured in human lives. This white coat, I said, my voice low and measured, is a symbol of responsibility, not a trophy to show off. You still have a long way to go. My words crushed the last fragile remnants of Ryan's pride. With the ECMO now functioning, the other critical patient's vitals stabilized. Outside the ICU, the family thanked me repeatedly, one nearly dropping to their knees in relief. I didn't pause. I changed into scrubs and went straight into the operating room to handle the Orion CEO's emergency coronary intervention. The blockage was in a particularly treacherous location, but for me, it was manageable. In the OR, my team moved in perfect synchrony. Every instrument passed, every instruction given executed with flawless precision. 2 hours later, the green light above the door signaled success. The surgery was complete. The CEO was safe. One of the surgical residents followed me out, eyes wide with awe. "Dr. Cole, the way you position that stent, that angle, that precision. You won't see that in any textbook." I nodded silently, peeling off my lead apron. The CEO's daughter, the young woman that I had rescued earlier, was waiting. Her eyes were red from tears. She didn't speak at first, only bowed deeply. "Dr. Cole, you saved my life and now my father's," she said, looking up with a steady, resolute gaze. When he woke, I explained everything. He said, "A doctor's greatest virtue is integrity. He believes a doctor with your skill and character should never be buried or silenced." "I've already involved my company's PR and legal teams," she continued, voice firm. "They'll handle the fallout. I know about the videos, the false accusations our incorporation will ensure your name is cleared." Her influence was far greater than I had imagined. By the next day, the online landscape had shifted. Every post, every article accusing me of misconduct vanished. In their place was a detailed letter of gratitude from Orion Corporation, praising both my medical expertise and moral integrity. Major news outlets picked it up with headlines like, "When a hero is framed," "The doctor who saved 2 lives." Public opinion had turned overnight. That afternoon, the hospital convened another assembly. President Adams personally read the decision. All disciplinary actions were nullified, and I was awarded an honorary bonus. Then the final agenda item. "Dr. Matthews and Miss Monica Brooks, please come forward and apologize publicly to Dr. Cole for your actions." Dr. Matthews shuffled to the stage, pale and defeated, muttering through a pre-written statement. A snicker from a young doctor echoed unnervingly through the silent hall. Monica followed, her face a mask of tears and false tragedy. "I wasn't thinking. I was jealous and petty. I'm so sorry, George." Her eyes pleaded for forgiveness. I stood among the crowd unmoved. None of it mattered. Some wounds cannot truly heal. The following day, the hospital's final judgment was issued. Ryan Matthews, responsible for a major medical mishap and willful destruction of critical equipment, was fired. His record bore a permanent mark, and the state medical board moved swiftly to revoke his license. Within a week, he was officially barred from practicing. Criminal lawsuits for medical malpractice were filed. He would never wear a white coat again. Dr. Matthews, for negligence and abuse of authority, was stripped of his head of department role and demoted to general practice. The Ethics Committee opened a full investigation into his tenure, uncovering substantial misconduct. He was held personally liable for a significant portion of the ECMO repair costs. His reputation and possibly his pension was in ruins. Orion Corporation acted quickly, sending a legal notice directly to the hospital. They were suing for the long-term health consequences and emotional distress caused by the CEO's delayed treatment, naming Matthews and Ryan as primary responsible parties. Colleagues who had once supported the Matthews family now distanced themselves, some even reporting prior misconduct. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. Monica's situation was no better. Orion filed a defamation and slander suit against her. Facing financial ruin, she panicked. Her parents confronted me outside my office. "George, for all the years you and Monica spent together, please show mercy," her mother pleaded, tears streaking her face. Her father stepped forward, pressing an envelope into my hand. "Here is 20,000, a token of our sincerity. Just consider letting this go." I took a step back away from the outstretched hand. "She's still young. Don't let her life be ruined." They continued in unison. I looked at them, gray-haired and desperate, my expression unyielding. The time for nostalgia ended the moment she posted that video online, destroying my career without a second thought. That erased any history we had. The people you should be pleading with are the lawyers, not me. And take back your money. It only lowers my opinion of your daughter further. I called security, and within minutes they were escorted from the building. A week later, the hospital announced my new appointment. I was officially named Associate Director of Cardiac Surgery with my own office and full authority to assemble my surgical team. President Adams handed me the appointment letter personally. "George," he said, his tone solemn, "the future of this department is in your hands." On my new mahogany desk, I placed my old worn nameplate, George Cole and the attending physician. Monica lost her lawsuit. Orion's legal team was relentless. The damages forced her family to sell their luxury condo and move to a modest apartment in the suburbs. She became a laughingstock in the local medical community, lost her job, and no hospital would hire her. Even a private cosmetic clinic rejected her, openly mocking her during the interview. Months later, she appeared at my office door. Stripped of her pride and former glamour, she looked haggard, her eyes dull. Her sweater was worn and wrinkled, a small detail that once would have horrified her. "George," she said, her voice in pleading, "I was wrong. I regret everything. I shouldn't have acted like that. I can't sleep. I dream of losing you every night." I sat behind my desk, eyes fixed on the patient chart before me, ignoring her attempts to appeal to our past. "Do you remember college? We used to study in the library together. You gave me a scarf and you said, 'You burned those memories.'" I interrupted calmly. "You never loved me, Monica. You loved control. You loved having me agree with everything, and you loved believing I'd never leave. So when I acted outside your control to save a life, you felt betrayed. You were in love with an idea of me, not the real me." Her color drained as my words struck home. She opened her mouth to argue, but no sound came out. I pulled out my phone, unlocked it, and slid it across the desk. On the screen was a photo. A woman in a fencing uniform smiling at the camera, sunlight catching her hair. "I've moved on." Monica stared at the photo, struck dumb. Then her voice broke into a shriek. "Moved on? Who is she? Is she prettier?" 7 years. Monica, you weren't ever there for me. I'm not heartless. I'm done with someone who never truly loved me." I stood taking back the phone. Someone who truly loves you doesn't watch you suffer and then blame you for the fallout of their own actions. I pressed the intercom. Security sent 2 officers to the associate director's office. Monica collapsed, sobbing uncontrollably. Minutes later, 2 guards entered and lifted her from the floor. She struggled and screamed my name, but I felt no anger, no satisfaction, only a profound sense of peace. That chapter of my life was finally over. Over the next 6 months, I built my surgical team. I recruited young, skilled doctors and instilled a culture of collaboration and integrity. One particularly talented fellow absorbed everything I taught him. I reminded him, skills can be taught, but integrity must be carved into your heart. One night, an emergency call came through an aortic dissection, the kind that leaves no room for error. The pressure was crushing, but my fellow remained calm and steady, performing each step with flawless precision. Watching him work, I saw the future of our department taking shape right before my eyes. Under my leadership, we pioneered several complex procedures, including a minimally invasive beating heart bypass, the first ever performed in our state. Our department's reputation soared as success after success drew praise from colleagues and heartfelt gratitude from patients. Before his retirement, President Adams visited my office one last time. He clasped my shoulder, his eyes filled with pride. "George, I knew I was right about you," he said. Then he handed me a rare out-of-print anatomical atlas from his own collection. "Keep doing what you do best. Don't ever let the world's bitterness dull your will to save lives." I nodded, promising myself I wouldn't. Together with Orion Incorporation, I established a charitable foundation for work for cardiac patients living in poverty, families who had no means to afford life-saving surgeries. In our first month, we saved 3 patients who had lost all hope. One little girl's mother brought me a small basket of eggs from their farm as thanks. That simple gesture meant more to me than any medal or certificate ever could. Watching those families walk out of the hospital healthy and whole gave me a peace no amount of money or recognition could buy. Months later, at a national cardiothoracic conference, my former mentor, the esteemed Dr. Langdon, delivered the keynote address. To my surprise, he cited my modified emergency protocol for extracorporeal circulation as a landmark case. He praised not only my technique, but also the moral courage behind it. When the audience stood and applauded, I didn't feel pride so much as quiet gratitude. Every struggle, every scar had led to this moment. That evening, I walked out through the hospital's main entrance. A red Mini Cooper was waiting by the curb. The window rolled down, revealing a familiar, bright smile. My girlfriend leaned out and waved. "Rough day, Dr. Director," she teased. "What do you want for dinner?" "I'll cook." I chuckled, sliding into the passenger seat. "Let's stop by the market first." She laughed as she started the engine, chatting about a match she just won at her fencing club, her face glowing with excitement. "Are you tired?" she asked. I shook my head and reached for her hand on the gear shift. Not when someone's waiting for me at home. As we drove past the shopping mall where Monica and I used to go, I looked out the window and felt nothing. No bitterness, no sadness, just calm. I turned toward the woman beside me, her face soft in the fading sunlight. Once I believed being a doctor was all there was to my life. Now I understand something greater. That true strength comes from a warm, trove home and a partner who walks beside you through every victory and every defeat. The past was finally behind me. What mattered now was the warmth in my hand and the future waiting just ahead.